Well, everyone, a welcome Ted Simpson from Scout Studio. Ted, glad that you're here today. And I guess in your own words, tell us more about yourself, about your company, Scout Studio, and how you've been in business for.
Yeah. So I'm a filmmaker. Work in sort of documentary and commercial spaces. So sort of for businesses, kind of creating brand films, and then what we've tried to do over the last 2, 3 years is move into broadcast. So like television, film, making longer form projects. And the areas that we like to make films about generally revolve around environmental issues, wildlife, nature, and people. So that's kind of our niche. That's where we are fascinated by those kind of stories. So, and that's the stories that we want to share with audiences. So, um, I've been running a business for about 6 years,
Yeah.
and then I set up Scout Studio a couple of years ago with my kind of friend and collaborator Finn O'Sullivan, who's a producer. So, we're based down here in Cornwall, and yeah, that's kind of our story, really.
That's your story. And I mean, what are your, I mean, I'm really fascinated about this because you're the first filmmaker we ever interviewed. So
Oh, great.
I am really fascinated about like the areas. Where do you go and make these documentaries? Where do you film? And yeah, explain to me
We,
about that.
yeah, we've been all over really. We're working on a project at the moment that's taken us to Norway, to Ireland, and to Scotland about white-tailed eagles, which is great. That's been kind of supported by Screen Cornwall, which is a body for film and TV down here that sort of to support the screen industry. So that's a great sort of network of people, and basically the Screen Cornwall is kind of trying to join up all of these different talents down here, because Cornwall's a really interesting place where it's kind of chock full of very talented people, but the network's not very strong, and kind of meeting different people is a bit of a challenge. So that's why Screen Cornwall exists, and they've been excellent for us in kind of supporting our business as we've grown, and kind of giving us opportunities to develop our own projects, which is great.
Great, great. And I'm curious, where is the most interesting place you've done your filming? I'm curious. Yeah.
I'd say I filmed in the Congo rainforest,
Okay.
which I'd say, yeah, is pretty interesting. We were filming sort of elephants and gorillas in the Congo, which I think is like a good bucket list place to be.
Wow.
But some of the most interesting places I've been are kind of just in the kind of moments that you're filming with people and you realize that you're kind of very lucky to be there. And you just don't really, not many people will have the same opportunity that you have to be in that kind of moment. And they're my favorite moments. I kind of had a couple of those in Norway in summer. Um, and yeah, it's a cool job.
It sounds really cool. And, obviously, how long you been doing this for, obviously that has, coincided with, with COVID and, and how with the impact of COVID, I mean, I'm sure you've been restricted with travel. So what has been the impact from COVID-19 on your business and how did you navigate yourself through it and out of it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely felt an impact. I think we kind of so like the commercial world sort of dried up overnight and was
Yeah.
definitely put on pause. Um, so we kind of took that as an opportunity to say, well, if we're not going to be working on stuff, that kind of occupies those next 3 months, then let's focus on building something bigger. And that's kind of how we started Scout Studio because we saw an opportunity to basically take the time that you need to take to build a production company that can work in broadcast, um, build out a slate of films that we can pitch, and build out a couple of concepts that we believe in. So it was actually a really useful time in a way because I think like usually you're just kind of or beforehand we were sort of chasing that commercial racket almost. You run that ratchet of constantly trying to get the next job in and build your business and like kind of
Mm.
economically, and then COVID sort of stopped that from happening. So um, it's definitely been kind of the impact of that kind of long term has definitely like been leaner books for sure. But I think through that opportunity, we've then got the opportunity to kind of like expand and grow much bigger in the future, which is exciting.
That's really, really exciting there. And I guess, out of COVID, good things came out of that as well there. So, which is great. And what would you say, what's been your biggest learnings so as far as, being a business owner yourself? What's been your greatest learnings?
Um, I think doing what you love is a really important part of my personal business journey. Obviously, it doesn't apply, but for everyone, and kind of or it doesn't apply as obviously for everyone. But I think caring about what you do, caring about the direction that you're going, and having passion for the work that you're doing is probably the most important thing, because without that, I struggle to be motivated. And I kind of sometimes see it now, like some of the work, like more commercial stuff, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really have as much of a fire for as much anymore, unless it's kind of something with a really strong brief, a really strong working with a company that really wants to communicate something. Then that challenge is great. But
Mm-hmm.
it's it's hard to work for something that you're not passionate about. And I think that's kind of been a big driver of our direction. Um, and that's something I kind of always want to make sure is a key part of my business.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say that is that? Would you say that really motivates you to keep going?
That yeah, absolutely. I think also like building something is quite a it's a nice challenge to have, like kind of seeing where you can go
mm,
and realizing we're only really one or two steps down that path.
yeah,
And it takes a long time, but it's kind of satisfying. And there's a lot of difficulty, a lot of rejection, a lot of kind of learnings that you have to take. But if you can kind of take stock of the journey, then you're going to have a good time rather than just trying to get to the end.
yeah.
And you can appreciate every kind of little milestone that you hit.
I see that. And, just speaking about that, what would you say has been your, obviously we had COVID, but apart from COVID, what's been your greatest, I guess, challenges as a business owner,
Um,
and how you come through that, or if you're still going through it?
yeah, I guess it's just like kind of balancing the kind of need to bring in enough business with kind of the time that you want to spend on moving forward, that kind of takes investment, I guess. So it's sort of like
Mhm.
that balance of time, and then also as I've kind of got a little bit older, the balance of work life as well. Like denoting the right time for working for yourself, denoting the right time for working for the business, and then kind of also having the time to step away from it all and go for a surf or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That can be a difficult balance, and I think I've probably got a better handle of that now than I did a few years ago.
Okay. Okay. Great. 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 And what would you say, if you had to do things, if you had to start all over again, Ted? If you had to start things all over again, what would you do differently?
Hmm, good question. Um, I don't know. Um, I'm quite happy with how I how I did it the first time. Maybe I
Yeah.
think, yeah, like it sort of seems like I don't know. It's a wiggly path, that you take, and you learn things at every little juncture. Um, but I'd say maybe something I'd do differently. Um, just continue to follow your gut. I think, like, kind of choose, like, if something if you can't get it out of your head, that's, I think, a good reason to do it and scratch that itch. And sometimes I've done that and it's where it really worked out for me, and sometimes I haven't. So but I would say largely I do sort of stick by that
Yeah.
rule. So I wouldn't change
Yeah.
that.
Now you got me curious. Why didn't it work those times that it didn't work?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think you can always take like a positive spin on most things that don't work. So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, some stuff doesn't go to plan, but then it kind of, um there's always bonuses you can get out of things. So it's kind of more mentality than anything else. I think a lot of business is like kind of trusting the process, and then kind of, because if you took every negative and kind of it hit you really hard, then I just don't think you get very far. I think it would
Yeah.
be emotionally exhausting. Whereas like I think part of running a business, for me anyway, is like taking those um taking the positives and really holding on to them, and then kind of ignoring the negatives, just letting them wash over you, which is yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It's like where the negatives still get drowned and you don't get consumed by it, basically. That's what
Mm.
I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, because I could do that could that's a spiral path that could go out all kinds of directions there. Just speaking to you now, I'd like to know, what's inspiring you today?
Well, today it's raining,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm a little hungover, so I'm not massively inspired today. But I think I think you know today I guess the thing that I'm working on is um, developing an idea ahead of a quite an important call tomorrow. So that's kind of the opportunity is inspiring me today, I guess.
Mm, mm, mm. Great, great. And what advice would you give to, say, like an 18-year-old who wants to start their own business? What would be like, okay, if we're going to do this, what would be the advice you'll give them?
Put yourself out there. I think one of the first things I did when I set up my business was like create a list of clients, potential clients around the area. Like who could I work with? Who could I provide service for? And then pick up the phone and call them. And I
Yeah.
think that was a lot harder mentally for our generation. I think probably than sending an email, but the success rate's way higher. Um,
Mm,
and it's just a good thing to do. And I think that's yeah, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to collaborate. Don't be afraid to be known. Um,
mm.
and just get out there and meet people.
You got there, meet people. Yeah, absolutely.